afternoon, everyone. My name is Benita Rodman Jenkins. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I direct the Speicher-Rubin Women's Center for Equity and Diversity here at NJCU. In addition, I coordinate our Gothic Night Ally Safe Zone program, and I'm the president of the BASO organization, which is the Black Alumni Administrator, Faculty, Student, and Staff Organization. Welcome, welcome, one and all. We are pleased that you have decided to join us for this very important program where we are looking at ways to break down barriers as it relates to race and gender in the STEM field, specifically speaking about coding. So we're very excited about our community hour. As we know, as you all know, our Women's Center is a place of ease, is a place where we educate, advocate, support, and empower. And every Thursday, or a couple times a month on Thursdays, we have the opportunity to bring in a guest and to talk about very, very important topics. So today's guest is from Quinnipiac University. And before I introduce our special guest, I'd like to shout out my staff today for a very special reason. Our program assistant is Crystal Mateo. Give a wave, Crystal. We have two, I believe, of our students on the line, Mercedes Ruiz, as well as Lilybeth Manjarez.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And
good afternoon.
The reason why it's very, very important for me to shout out my staff today is because I want to thank them for all of their hard work. Yesterday was a very special day at NJCU. We had members of our accreditation body who have been working with a team from NJCU. They're from Middle States, and they developed a report, and during a town hall yesterday, they presented that report. And I'm told, I actually had a training to do, I'm told that the Speicher-Rubin Women's Center for Equity and Diversity received high reviews. I don't know the exact language. Crystal can help me out with that. But they gave us a big shout out because of the work that we do. So I wanted to take this opportunity to thank my staff because I couldn't do the work that I do without them. And then I want to thank the NJCU community for the support that you give our center, for coming to our events, for supporting our students. It's really important to me and to us. So for us to receive that shout out from the accreditation body was huge. So I just want to say thank you. And I was just so grateful and really, really excited about it. And I can't wait to read the report. So on to introducing our speaker. Kiku Jones's work is focused on building empowered student leaders equipped both professionally and personally. She promotes diversity and inclusion in the classroom and challenges her students to become leaders on campus and in the community. In her role as People's United Center for Women and Business, PUCWB, co-director and associate professor of computer information systems, she is passionate about building a strong, sharing community of women and their allies ready to affect systemic change in the workforce to help in the advancement of women. Jones is also particularly interested in the challenges women of color encounter. In addition to the work with PUCWB, Jones annually brings students from across the Quinnipiac community through a global solidarity program. She currently works with a community partner in San Lucas, Tolima, Guatemala. Prior to her work at Quinnipiac, she was a vice president at Feed the Children. Jones has extensive experience working and consulting in various aspects of nonprofit organizations. In 2017, she received Quinnipiac University's Center for Excellence in Teaching Award. In 2014, 2015, and 2016, last year of the award, she was the recipient of the Quinnipiac University's CIS Society's Professor of the Year. In 2008, she received the University of Tulsa's Mayo Excellence in Teaching Award. Jones earned her PhD in Decision Sciences and Information Systems from the University of Kentucky and her BS in Computer Information Systems and MBA from Western Kentucky University. I had the pleasure of being introduced to Dr. Jones by my nephew, Isaiah Lee. Isaiah is a very dear friend of NJCU's. He was our Lavender graduation speaker in 2018. In addition, he served on our panel discussion for our Saving Black Lives panel discussion that we had back in June. So thank you so much, Isaiah. Isaiah's on the call today for introducing us to Dr. Jones. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to some and present to others Dr. Kiku Jones.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited to see Isaiah here on the other side of things. He gets to evaluate me today. He was one of my students, one of my kids. There he is. Oh, I get to see his face now. My heart. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. It's such a joy to be able to share in community, and that's really what I definitely am about. That's what the People's United Center for Women in Business is about. It is about building community, stretching across the aisle, connecting with others, and finding those pieces where we can talk with one another, where we can share with one another, where we can join voices. And so I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about the format for today. We actually will have a question and answer period first with myself along with Dr. Jones. We'll have an initial conversation, but then I'd like to open it up to the group for further discussion. So I will start with the first question. So what were some of the people, places, and things that called you to the field of coding and computer information systems as a whole?
Well, I can tell you exactly why I am in this field. It was a woman named Linda Johnson, my mentor. She's an amazing, amazing person. I can tell you that when I first started in college, I was actually going to be an elementary school teacher. I had no idea about computers at all. Never really touched a computer. In fact, I had keyboarding in high school. That's what we did back then. And when I got to college, we all had to take something called computer literacy because we didn't know really what computer was. We had to take computer literacy. And when Linda Johnson walked in the room, she was not what I expected as my instructor. She was incredibly out of place. I expected to see most definitely a white man. And if I'm honest, I expected the white man to be a little old, balding, glasses. I'm just being honest. This is what I was picturing, okay? Stereotypes, right? This is what I had in my head, okay? That's what I pictured. She was not any of that. She was vibrant. She was commanding. She held that room. She was a force. And all eyes were on her. I wanted to know everything she was going to say. I absorbed it all. And I was hooked from that first day. And the great thing about her is that she recognized, talent in the room, which was fantastic. And she called me in and said, "What are you thinking about doing for your career?" And I said, "I really don't know, because I'll give you a little other piece of information about me. I did a student teaching in a first grade class. And what I discovered was I really wasn't good in a first grade class. So I was a little bit rocked. I was a little nervous because I thought that's what I was going to do. And I tend to find out I'm actually not good with first graders. They're great. They're beautiful. They're wonderful, but they made me giggle constantly. I was not effective in a first grade class. So I thought, uh-oh, now what? So I said to her, "I don't know what I'm going to do." And she said, "Well, you're amazing with computers." And I said, "What?" Because that's not something I could ever pictured me doing. But she opened a door. She opened a door not only by telling me that I was good at that, but she opened a door just by being there, by being a woman doing that, because that's not something I could have ever pictured a woman doing, quite frankly, and a vibrant woman, a woman that just seemed so out of place. And there she was, and she did it well. So that's what drove me into this field.
Thank you so much for that. You know, as you're talking about a woman who seemed to be out of place, she was the one who actually drew you into the place.
Right.
Which I think is really powerful. And I feel like, you know, we all need Linda Johnsons. Is that her name?
Yes, Linda Johnson. Yeah.
Everyone needs a Linda Johnson in their life, right? Someone who sees something in you, someone who believes in you, someone who is present and there for you. So I think that's very, very powerful. In this particular field, clearly there needs to be more, right? Because we realize that there are race and gender barriers that continue to exist.
Yes.
So I wanted to know if you could talk more about, unfortunately, some of the barriers that continue to exist, and what are some of the things that we can do as a community, not just individually, but institutionally, to try to disrupt and dismantle some of these barriers?
So, you know, unfortunately, there's, when it comes to, and I'll speak, you know, about this field, but really it can kind of radiate across a lot of fields, but the barriers are really on both sides of the STEM field. It's entering in, it's blocking. There are barriers for people who, you know, want to step into the field. So, for example, me not seeing the ability to come in, but then there's the barrier of once you're in, now there's a barrier of moving forward, right? There's this block. So the barriers coming in, there's things like access. You know, you don't have the access to it, so you're to computers, so you're a bit behind. You know, those that have that access to begin with. There's the fact that you don't see people who look like you in the field, so you can't imagine yourself actually being in that field. There's the stereotypes, as I talked about, of what you imagine people being in that that field of who should be a computer programmer. And there's the messaging that's being sent to you, right? Coming from everyone, coming from teachers, coming from parents who should be involved. When I think about the gender, right? So boys play with electronics, right? Girls play with dolls, right? So there's this piece that's going out there. There's that. And then if you have those wonderful people that get through, right? So there's the people that actually get through and they get to the other side. Well, now you have the barriers on this side. Let's say you get through and you're like, okay, I've made it, I've done it, I've gotten through, I've even gotten a job. And then you look around and you're like, it's me. Where's everybody else? I'm one of a few, or maybe I'm an only. That is a lonely place to be. I have been an only. Has anybody been an only? Anybody walked into a room and looked around? Because sometimes that's the first thing you do, right? You walk in the room. You know what I'm talking about? You walk in the room and you look left and you look right because you're just kind of looking to see, is there anybody like me? I just want to know. That feeling, that first step when you walk in that room, that's that feeling. That's that lonely. There's that barrier. And the problem is that you have companies that are saying, they're yelling, they're shouting it, we're a diverse workforce. The problem is that they're doing something like, oh, here's my checklist. Okay, diversity, that can be easy. It's the inclusion part that they're missing. So this is the problem. That's that barrier, right? That's where we have the issue. And so now you have people who are either leaving because they can't go anywhere else. They're by themselves. They're all alone. Or they're conforming. They're changing. They're altering themselves just to fit. And now they can no longer be authentically themselves. And that's a problem too. So there's so many barriers on both sides of the STEM field. And again, like I said, I feel like this can radiate out. But in the STEM field, when I'm speaking that specifically, if you continue to see, this is something that has been happening for over 30 years. This isn't new. It's been happening for over 30 years, and it's just continuing to grow and to get worse as opposed to getting better, unfortunately. And I can tell you that, and I want to give a little piece of history, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, little piece of history, because I feel like, at least for the first barrier, okay, that first barrier of I shouldn't be here, because sometimes that's that feeling of I shouldn't be here. I've got this imposter feeling, I shouldn't be here. Let me tell you why you should be, okay? 30 years ago, before the personal computer came into play, it used to be women. First of all, let's start with that. It used to be women who were computer programmers, okay? And the reason why is because they said that men actually built the computers. That was more masculine. So they wanted the men to build the computers, and they felt women should do the computer programming because it was more logic-based. I'll let you read into that. But it was more logic-based, and so they felt women should be the computer programmers. And that's why they had women doing the computer programming. And I love, there's a quote, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong. And this is such a great little story. I'm going to add in an extra little story here, just, for your back pocket, okay? Her name is Arlene Gwendolyn Lee. And if you haven't heard this story, you should go and read the full story. But her quote is, "The computer didn't care that I was a woman or that I was Black. Most women had it much harder than me." She's a phenomenal woman. She, actually, they weren't going to give her the test, okay, to be the computer aptitude test. They finally did, and they found out she scored in the 99th percentile. All right, she was fantastic at computers, first of all. All right, 99th percentile. But she said, other women had it harder than her because she just had to, she sat at the computer and she worked, right? She got her stuff done. She was able to work. So that was pre-personal computer in the home. All right, this is what women did. In fact, there was an article I read that said, this woman said, if women weren't computer programmers, I didn't know what we were supposed to do. That's what women did. It changed when the personal computers were introduced in the homes. When the personal computers got introduced into the home, that's when the divide began. Because when the personal computer came into the home, well, now it's an electronic in the home. And who plays with electronics? Boys played with electronics. So the fathers and the boys played with the electronic, which was the computer, and the moms didn't, so the daughters didn't, and we started to find this divide. And also, who can afford the personal computer in the home? I couldn't. I could not afford the personal computer in the home. I want you to know that there was a study done because women started to drop out at this point. Because when they started to go to college and they found that they were behind in those first computer science courses, they began to feel less confident in themselves. Because the men in the room already were touching those computers. They were already doing programming. They were already getting a little ahead. A lot ahead, some, because they were spending a lot of time on it. They began to feel like this is not for me. I'm not doing well. So they started to drop out. But the study showed that by year 3, they had already caught up. It leveled out. So all that stuff at the beginning may have helped in those first set of courses, but by 3, they leveled out. If I had known that, I'd have felt much better. Because in my first course, in my first computer course, not the computer literacy, but in the first computer science course, in my programming course, because we took all of our courses over in computer science. In my first CS course, I took it. I didn't, like I said, I could not afford a personal computer in our home. When I first took my course, I was behind in terms of that. And it was me, there was one other woman in the room. We went to the computer lab because nobody had laptops back then, of course. We went to the computer lab. It was me, it was her, it was a few other men in the room. We did our programs there, not together, not as in we looked at, but we sat in the room together, laughed, joked, did whatever, you know, as students do, turned in our work. When we got our work back, our code back, I had a note on my paper that said, your code looks a little too close like hers, like the other woman student. She was a white female. And I was devastated. I asked her if she had the same note about looking like mine. She didn't. And nobody else in the lab had any note, just mine. So what it said to me, what I believed, was that he knew I couldn't do it. That's what I thought. Not that he thought maybe I couldn't, but I felt that he knew I couldn't. So I isolated myself. I no longer wanted to be near anybody else. One, I didn't want him to think that I was cheating, because I didn't, and I didn't want him to think that I was. And two, I didn't want anybody else to know how bad I was. And if I struggled, I didn't ask him for help because I was nervous to. I did not do well in that class because anytime I had a question, I didn't feel comfortable asking him. I almost left at that point. I held on, and guess what? It did level out. I did just fine, and I finished, but I almost left. And I tell you what, I carried that with me for a long time, that I wasn't supposed to be there. That is a tough thing. And we need people in the classroom who are more like Linda Johnson, who are going to push people in the right way. And that's one of the barriers that we have to break. Sorry, my tangents.
Oh,
My stories.
Please don't apologize. This is what it's about. We're all about sharing stories. That's the richness and the beauty of this experience, is for you to be able to just be so transparent with us. And I want to just express gratitude to you for sharing your story and for talking to us about that experience. I'm just thinking about how painful it must have been, right? And then the calculated and strategic things that people intentionally do to isolate people, right? And it almost worked, but it didn't, right? But
Right.
It still was a very painful situation, like you were this close to dropping out. And I feel like we need people in place to be able to hold those types of people accountable. You know, there was never a conversation with you about your work or anything like that. It was this assumption, and then, you know, pretty much I don't want her here. I'm just going to put it here, and then for you to talk to the other students and for them not to have it, you know, on their sheet of paper. Yeah, so I feel like that accountability piece for professors and other people in the field of education to really get checked and not be with students, because it's why a number of students can't move forward, right? So that's a huge barrier, barrier that continues to exist.
Yes.
Today. So thank you for that. Thank you. And I know that now you are doing some amazing things. So that's why this story is so significant, right? Because he didn't win. You won. And now you are here just doing such dynamic work and winning all sorts of awards for teaching excellence and empowering the lives of these young people, right? paying it forward. There's so many people, because of the harm that they've experienced, it's hard for them to move forward, but it's just beautiful to see all the many things that you are doing. And I know that with the center, People's United Center for Women in Business, in your bio, I mentioned some things, but can you maybe talk more about some of the initiatives that you all are doing at Quinnipiac?
Sure, absolutely. My student engagement intern, she actually put this great slideshow together. So I'm hoping that Crystal wouldn't mind putting that up. Thank you. So go to the next slide there. Okay, so we have a social media app. So I just wanted to showcase that. So please follow us. We'd love to have you, connect with us. And again, I always say it's about community, because I feel like the more you connect, the wider your net is, the better that you can always find that support, and you can, find those connections to help you to move forward. So please connect with us on Instagram and LinkedIn. So those are our accounts there. We are currently highlighting women business owners. We're trying to make sure that, their names get out there. We're centering their stories, how, what they're doing. Oh, and you can see Venida right there, right at the top, because she's getting ready to come through. We have Monday videos, our student engagement, and she's really fantastic. The student engagement, her name is Kristen Anderson. She's fantastic, and we have her do some Monday videos, just from the student's point of view of different topics that she likes. We promote our upcoming events, and then career tips, and we're gonna do our research showcasing as well. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you, Crystal. And then she's also doing a podcast. She didn't have the slide in, and I made her put it in because I think I'm just so impressed with what she's doing, that we have a podcast now, and we're having her interview women business owners as well. So that way they have a place to do their, to talk, to share their voice, to, just talk about their story and how they got to where they are. Okay, thank you. So share, join us there too. Okay. And here are a couple of some of our recent events that we have. We always have a monthly coffee chat. All are welcome. We always, all of our events are free and open to the public. We never charge. So we have a monthly coffee chat. We just sit around and chat. I mean, literally, that's what we do. We just like to connect with everyone, and let everyone just have a moment. Take, let that be your 1 hour that you say, okay, I'm just going to have a break. This is my time just to chat. We do, sometimes we grab a breakout room if people have a specific topic that they want to talk about. This last time we had a caregivers room where people, were really having some times that they wanted to connect with other caregivers. So we set up a breakout room for caregivers, and we had them, have that room, that time and space to connect with one another. We did have a weekly women entrepreneurship. That's a national, actually an international event that happens. And so we connected with that, and we brought in Ashley Mason to talk about her business. And then our Dean's Distinguished Speaker Series, we are co-sponsoring this. And our last speaker, it was actually a panel. It was two of our two panelists that are DEI specialists. And we had our Quinnipiac law professor, Marilyn Ford, who moderated it. It was amazing, fantastic. They were wonderful, wonderful speakers. And then mindfulness on the quad. It was midterm week, and we said, you know what? We need to take a break. So we said, let's do a mindfulness session. So we have a couple of folks on our in our staff that said, yes, we'll do it for you. We said, let's go. And so we set up, they were 6 feet apart. We had our spaces, and we marked it off, and there we were. So we sat out on the quad, and there we were. It was great. It was fantastic. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. And I think you will all know this wonderful woman. She is coming to speak on October 28th. And again, all welcome. So she will be our next Dean's Distinguished Speaker. She's going to help us to figure out our next moves in creating community and taking action for incorporating cultural humility and anti-racism practices throughout our university. So please join us for that. And then our future events in the spring, we have a student panel on anti-Black racism. We had a panel that was put on by the university, but we honestly felt that the administrators spoke too much. So we contacted the students who were on the panel and said, would you be willing to have another one and let it just be student run? And we'd like to hear more from you. And they all said, absolutely. And so, so we're gonna have it where it's just the students speaking because we just heard a little too much from the administrators. So we're gonna have Work Start Smart, and this is for like negotiations. So we're gonna let the, this is Work Smart is for professionals, Start Smart is for the students, helping you to learn how to negotiate your salaries. Our monthly start, and then we'll have more speaker series, and then we're collaborating with a nonprofit called Empower Her. It's a smaller nonprofit who works with helping young girls and teens to feel empowered and to to really just move forward and understand their power in themselves. And so we are connecting with her to elevate her her nonprofit, and so we're giving her a voice and helping, and she's helping us, and we're helping her to put on a workshop. And that's what we're doing there.
Wow, very exciting. Let's just give it up. Whoop, whoop. I mean, so nice. So you can see why we have made this connection and why Isaiah saw something in the work that we do that was definitely connected. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that you were doing. I love the slideshow presentation and just the many ways that you are touching lives, and the programming is so diverse, and you're covering a broad range of topics, and I think that's extremely important. So thank you for sharing all of that. And it's nice now with all of the virtual programming, you know, a number of us, granted, we are Zoomed out, as we said earlier.
Yeah,
However,
it's hard. It's hard.
It's really cool, though, that we still have the opportunity to take advantage of some things happening, not just here, but abroad as well. So it's really been nice. And yeah, so I found myself attending a number of different webinars that I certainly would not be able to attend if I had to drive there. So, so it's been nice in some respects. So we'd like to open it up to the group. However, I have one more question. What are one or two strategies you can share with our students who may be struggling with maybe their STEM coursework or any other coursework, and they may be contemplating changing majors or just dropping out of the field? What are two things that you could share with them to encourage them? And I will say that hopefully a number of other people besides those who are here will hear this because we're recording it. So.
Oh, absolutely. So my big thing is, and I always say this to all of my students, is to use your voice. And that's really with everything. But when you are struggling, please reach out, use your voice, contact your professor. If you are uncomfortable with your professor, and that happens, use your voice to contact someone else. If it's somebody else in the department, great. But if not, especially in the STEM field, we have so many resources, so many community groups that you can connect with to get some help. And guess what? Now we're connected. So here I am. Reach out. I'm here for you. I always tell everybody, once we've crossed paths, now I'm connected. You know, I'm a connection now, right? So I'm happy to help you. right? And if it's not me, if it's not my specific field, I'm happy to connect you to a connection, right? So this is how that works, right? So we get connected. Use your voice. You've got to push forward. If you are feeling that you're at that point of it's just not clicking, then the question has to be, is it not clicking because you are not getting the resources you need to help you to understand it? That's one thing. If it's not clicking because you have no interest and no passion for it, that's something else. And so that's what you have to ask yourself, is which of those two things is it? Because sometimes people put you in a spot to say, you're going to do this, and you want to be really careful to not find yourself in a position where you're going down a road because someone told you this is what you should be doing.
That's great. Very, very important. Very important. Definitely using your voice is extremely important, and getting connected. And I hope that all of us can use those strategies in our lives, because we have so many things that we're experiencing, and it is important for us to use our voice and to know that we're not alone, and just to reach out for the resources that we need, whatever the situation is. So thank you for that. That was great. All of your answers were just so meaningful and so fulfilling. And I'd now like to open it up to our guests, those who have come to the program. We have time to just have a Q&A. If you have a question or a comment for Professor Jones, now is your time.
May I start?
Please.
So, I mean, there was a little bit of a discussion, and you touched on it briefly, about, imposter syndrome. I think that's the term for it. Do you happen to have a practice or an idea or metaphor that our students could use to counteract ever feeling like that? Because, if other people, especially professors or another mentor that is making them feel that way, it would be good to, like, I guess, knock ourselves out of that kind of cyclical thinking and just remind ourselves, hey, I'm not an imposter, I'm actually doing this. So do you have something like that?
Yes. So I have to tell you, this is okay. So another quick story. I just promise it'll be fast. So my very first corporate position that I received, it was a really big one. It was over Y2K. No one knew what in the world Y2K was, right? And now you know how old I am. But it was Y2K, and I was really young. I was very young. But I did apply for this position, and no one really knew how to even handle any of this stuff. And so when I applied, first of all, I wasn't sure that I should even apply. And then of course, Linda Johnson said, you will get the job, you will do this, you can do this, because they say, most women tend not to apply for jobs unless we have every single thing that they say we should have, where men will apply for it if they have like one piece of it, right? And so I said, okay, I'll go. She I think she scared me more than anything. But anyway, so she said, you will do it and you will get it. And she was right, I did get it. And I was so excited, and I was telling my friends, and I was still getting my MBA at the time, and I was telling my friends in the class, oh, I got the job, I cannot believe it, I'm so excited, I got it, and they were like, oh, give me accolades, this is wonderful, this is so exciting, because it was a really large multi-site, multi-state healthcare conglomerate, really large company. And they said, oh my gosh, this is wonderful, this is really going to propel you, you're doing great, da, 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 da. And then this other student, older man, says, you only got that position because you're a woman and you're a minority. And my heart actually just sunk just now when I said it, because I could picture his face. And my heart sunk, and my friends walked away. Nobody backed me up, nothing, everybody just walked away. It was silent. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if he's right? That's what came to my mind. What if he's right? So then you start having that feeling, right? That imposter syndrome sits in, and it begins to go, oh my gosh, what if he's right? What if he's right? Oh my gosh, that's the only reason I'm here. It's the only reason I'm here. Well, I mean, it wasn't, by the way. It wasn't. It was not the only reason I was there. It wasn't the reason at all why I was there. I was there because I was the right person for the job. And by the way, side note, he applied for the job. So I got that job because I deserved it. And when you start to feel like you shouldn't be there, when you have that imposter syndrome you look at the data points. You look at your data points, okay? How are you doing? How are you doing? Who are the people around you that know you best? What are they saying? Are they helping you? Are they pushing you? Are they saying you can do this? Those are the ones that you trust. Those are the ones who know you. And those are the ones that are telling you exactly the right thing, right? So these are the people that you need to listen to. Don't listen to somebody off like that. They don't know you. And when you're doing well and you're continuing to move forward, that's your data point. You're doing it. So you should be there, and you have every ability to be there.
Thank you. Sandra?
No, what Gia said was like truly inspiring, because it speaks so much to like empowering women and fighting the patriarchy, and like you just have to stand your ground. And I know a lot of the times people say, well, there's a time and place for everything, like you can't fight every battle, but I think fighting for yourself and advocating for yourself is a battle that you should always fight no matter what. And it wasn't so much of a question as much as a comment, so yeah.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you for bringing your voice into the room as well. Any other questions or comments for our guest today?
I have a question. Hello, Dr. Jones, welcome.
Hello.
I enjoyed your words, and I'm particularly interested in, you talked about the boys learning electronics and the girls with the dolls. And I know that was somewhat, or I'm believing that was something of the past. And I'm thinking, we're in this digital world, and it seems like everyone is, learning computers and technology so much earlier. Have you seen signs of that changing, or is it still kind of the boys are being focused more towards the electronics and the girls not so much?
So I still think that the messaging is kind of the same. And here's why I say that. Because you may still have opportunities even when opportunities are equal. So in other words, everybody's invited. They're all able to come. When you have a program that's open to everyone, it still tends to be targeted to males. And that's where the issue is. So the girls may not know that it's even an option. And that's where the issue comes in. So it's not that the opportunity isn't there and available. It's just not given to them. It's not spoken to them. So the messaging is still going this way, right? And so that's where the issue is. And we need to have a better way of attracting girls into programs.
Oh, that's great. We do need to have a better way. Any other thoughts or comments? I really enjoyed this conversation. Do my students have anything they'd like to share? No pressure. Just because we have a couple more minutes. No pressure, seriously. Dr. B?
Is that okay? I was actually waiting for students to start saying something, because everything that was said is I mean, it's what we're living everywhere, at all levels, whether you're talking about faculty, whether you're talking about student. And I want to hear student, because one of the things that they don't see faculty struggle. They don't see administrators struggle. What they see us confident, but are we really confident? And I wanted to see how you guys are reacting to this, because the reality is we struggle, but we don't show it. And because we learned, and Dr. Jones was, she said so much about it. We can say so much about our struggles, and we don't want you to struggle. This is why we want you to speak up, to talk. And I was waiting to see if you're going to speak up, say something. And it's important to start just doing that. I've been through, you can imagine, look at me, that's very simple. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're, it's not just the color of your skin. I mean, my skin turned white, completely white, because it's actually, I don't see the sun too much, but I'm actually not even white, to be honest. I'm from Africa, Algeria. So when I go to the sun, I turn dark brown, like I'm no joke. But it doesn't matter. I'm a woman, I'm very different. Just being different in a place where everybody is not looking like you is huge. So, Dr. Jones, how do you react when people literally bully you in a subtle way? When I say subtle way, it's like, those little hints when you, for example, you ask a question in the middle of a meeting, or you answer, actually, when you answer the question, for example. And people sitting there, they don't even address your question. They don't even look at you. And then if somebody else asks the same one or answer the same thing, it is being addressed. This tiny little thing that tell you, you're not where you're supposed to be. Go back whatever. How do you?
So I actually was just in a meeting where we had, it was a Zoom meeting, and the way that you asked a question was you put HU in the chat, and you put it, so hands up, hand up. And they were answering questions, answering the person, as they went down the list. Just skip me. And I thought, I'm the only one. Just felt that I just looked, and I kept going. I thought, oh my goodness. So hands up again. I thought, are you kidding me? And then said, well, I don't see anybody else, so I guess, and I thought, hands up again. And I thought, is this happening? And so gave me until there was 5 minutes up. And I said, well, I think we need to have some training on, and so I addressed it in that way. I was calm, but I said, because if not, then we're going to be one of those universities that just all talk. And I think that we need to have some training in regards to how people are being treated in this area. And because the discussion was around equity and inclusion. So it was a perfect opportunity for me. So I did that, and I did it in that forum. So in that was actually a perfect opportunity for that. So I did, but I just continued to put it in, and I tried to be as subtle as I could in that way. But I wasn't going to allow it to not, if he had not called on me, I just simply would have unmuted and spoke. Here's what I can tell you, and let me just be honest, be 100% honest here. And this is new for me. My stronger voice is new for me. That's 100% honest. I read a book called The Authenticity Principle. If you haven't read it, you should read it. It's called The Authenticity Principle by Ritu Bhasin, Ritubhasin. And she talks about 3 different, and I know we only have a few minutes, but she talks about 3 different selves, and it's the authentic self, the adaptable self, and the performing self. And I can tell you that I spend a lot of my time in the performing self, where you're just performing to make sure that you just get through the day, right? You're performing to fit a certain way. And I did that for a really long time. Sometimes, the adaptive self is okay. You're just kind of, adapt a little bit to get through the day, you're fine, which is okay. And then there's this authentic self, and it's taking me, here I am, as old as I am, trying to go, is that authentically me? I'm really not even sure. And so I don't ever want my students to have to question, to be so old, and then to say, actually, I'm not even sure if that's authentically me, because I've been performing for so long, I don't even know. I don't want my students to ever be like that. So I tell them, you be who you are. Be authentically you all the time, because I don't want you to get to a point where you have to question whether or not that's you, right? And so that's one of the things I scream to them, right? Be authentically you, be authentically you, be authentically you. And so when I get presented with a subtle knock like that, now, because back then I would have told you something else. I think I probably would have been like, and kind of sat like this, and then, probably talk to my girlfriends about it later, if I'm honest. Now I would bring it up, not in a rude way, because I'm really careful with that, but I am more about addressing it. I'm more about speaking up and speaking out. But I try never to be rude. I just try to be direct.
Thank
Oh, that's great.
you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Vanita. It's just like you blew my mind.
Oh, I did.
I like you a lot.
I like you a lot.
Listen, we have to be true to ourselves. And some of my students are here, actually. They've been with me for a while. So, and they know I'm myself, but it wasn't always the case. And exactly what you said. Back then, I would be sitting there and we'd be waiting. Now I will be like,
yes, right. Yes, I think.
And I will get it there. I mean, people seen you yesterday, all out. But that wasn't me a few years ago. That was me hiding in a corner. It would be me hiding in a corner.
Yeah.
I think that's super important what you just said, because I wish I had heard you when I was much younger. Do you see what I mean? And this is what I want all of you students to understand. You gotta be who you are. It doesn't matter how people treat you, because people do not define who you are. You define who you are. Okay, you define it by your action, by your hard work, and by what you achieve, not by what you look like or your accent. I have a horrible accent. I came 1996. I was I'm terrible.
No.
No.
Everyone unmute yourself and tell Dr. B, no.
Love everything about you.
No.
No, Dr. B, you're awesome. And I just got off a Zoom call to jump on this. You're beautiful.
Damn straight.
1996, when I came in, I was not speaking the language. I learned it, it was my third language, because my first was actually French and then Arabic, because I was traveling in many countries. But it's difficult. It's so hard. And at the end I realized, well, I am who I am. And to your point, Dr. Jones, all your story was, it was an amazing story. And like when I went for my PhD, I could tell you an example, just simple example. It was a faculty who would, even when I came to NJCU, but I'm not going to go there, but it was a faculty for a whole year. When I say hi, the response I would get is, it was an everyday, but the thing is, it is me. I cannot not say it. I cannot be polite. I cannot not say it every single day. I kept doing it every single day. And I would take that back and I would say, it's okay. It's okay. After a year, I started getting it back. After 2 years, it was my best friend.
Good for you.
That sounds like the person who, on my first day of work, what a welcome, at NJCU, when I said, she said, what's your name? And I said, Venida. And she said, I'm never going to remember that. And then guess who called me across campus? The same person who said she would never remember my name. So any last questions? Just last call for comments, questions. We good? Oh, Juan, you got to go?
Well, no, can I just say one short thing that
Yes.
combines what Kiko and Miriam have
Yes,
been saying?
yes.
So I think what both of you are saying is that, you know, all of us have to struggle. I think that's a fact, regardless of where we are. And I think there's actually several cultural precedents that we can see, you know, being in the international office, struggle can be viewed in different cultures in different ways. So for example, in Chinese culture, struggle is seen as a good thing, that if you're struggling, you're on the right path, you're figuring it out. So maybe this is a little more of a practical way to have students kind of look at it. It's just like a video game. You know, we're in comp sci, we're in programming. It's like a video game. If there are more enemies that come at you in the game, you're going on the right path. So maybe
I like that.
maybe we frame it like that. But thank you both for pointing that out.
And thank you so much, Dr. Jones, for being here with us. Can we just please give it up for Dr. Kiku Jones from Quinnipiac University?
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. You are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your truth, your talk, your stories. Everything that you shared to encourage all of us today was so very inspiring. So I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. And just thank you for being here. So everyone who attended, if you don't mind, I would like to invite you to please fill out our evaluation form. You could go ahead and put your phone up to the screen and take a picture of the QR code, and you can take a minute to fill it out. Just to let you know about some upcoming events, we have a day in the life of a professional gamer, an NBA 2K gamer in a couple of weeks, and then we have our Afro Latinx event scheduled for November 19th. We also have yoga. We had our first yoga session last week. It was amazing. And we have about 3 more sessions. One of our students is leading the charge. So that has been exciting from Vaughn's office. So thank you for making that connection, Vaughn. And we will have some Zumba to close out the year. So we are concerned about everything, mind, body, and spirit. So we want to ensure that we are offering spaces for our students, staff, and faculty to come and just feel like they belong. So thank you. And I do want to say a word about the accent piece. Sorry, Dr. V. No, I'm not going to apologize. Sorry, not sorry. Everyone has an accent. I just want to share that with you, right? Everyone, whether you are from the Northeast, whether you are from the South, whether you are from the Midwest, whether you are from Egypt, Northern Africa, everyone has an accent, right? So it's just important for us to just honor that and respect people and not think that the way we speak is terrible. So I just wanted to throw that out there to our fine professor. Thank you. All right. So I think that's it. Anything else? Dr. Jones, would you like to have some closing words?
Absolutely. So the big thing that I want to just close with is use your voice and be authentically you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for our special guests for being here. Faith in from California, Jordan Lee, Isaiah's sister in from Connecticut. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate everyone. And of course, all of our students, staff, faculty here at NJCU. We appreciate each of you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, okay.